Hello. Thanks for the likes and shares on the, well, the likes anyway. I don't know if anyone shared it, but thank you for that. It is greatly received. Helps the algorithm. Don't know why I need the algorithm to improve, because I'm not doing the channel for money, so whatever, I suppose. That's what we've got so far. That is the axle now cut in half, and the reason why I did this is the differential that's being engineered has got to sit back in those cups. Now, I was looking online for some cups that I could use to work with, but I couldn't find anything, and I thought, well, I'm going to be putting these tubes back on. At the very least, I'll be cutting these bits off in order to bolt that part and weld that to a frame, so I might as well reuse the axle as we know it and as we can see it. So I've trimmed it all up, and I am kind of ready now to put the diff back in and work out how the hell I'm going to do this, because none of this is written down on paper. Honest to God, none of it's written down on paper. I'm kind of doing it as I go along. Also have a water issue again. I will get this roof sorted out sooner or later. So I've left, instead of trimming all of this bit here up, I've left that, because side by side, when these are set side by side, I can use these flat areas here to put a chain guard or a belt guard over. So I can literally put a piece of flat steel there, a piece there, shape some steel. I have some over there, bead roll it, and I can actually make a half arc to go over that one and a half arc, and I could box that all in with my own design of a guard, which could look quite good. But not only that, it gives me somewhere then to bolt extra steel top and bottom to make up a protection guard that the bike would have originally had. Now you'll see on that swing arm there, look, I've already got a shitty little aluminium plate there. I don't know what good that was meant to do. So yeah, I'm planning on boxing that belt in as much as I possibly can in order to stop stones and crap from getting in there. But the downside is if they get in there, then that's probably going to shred the belt to pieces and break the pulley anyway. But I'm doing my best here. The chain guard itself, if I can get that chain to work, I want that fully placed. Now, they have extended the tube on the differential, who's planning to, so the tube is about that long. The bearing sits on there and then goes into there. It's an open bearing, which means I've now got to replace it with a sealed bearing. Now, he said to me, you can't get a sealed tapered bearing. This is the engineer bloke. Now, I had a look online, and it turns out you can get sealed tapered bearings. So I'm half debating whether or not to do that. The other thing I'm planning on doing is I've got to seal these tubes up, so when I do finally get oil in that unit, the oil doesn't just spray out and fall out all over the road. So I need to get 2 seals in here to go around the drive shafts, or those other units we spoke about that the bearings sit on, and then we can have this fully sealed up, so any oil in the differential will go into the tubes and lube the tubes up. And hopefully, even though I have sealed bearings on that, as you can see down there, I could pluck the seal off and have them open, and then the oil in here will flow where it needs to flow. That was the idea, and he has finally done some progress for me. So that's been machined out. Excuse me, that now fits. He's made this. That goes over the other side of the diff. I had to leave the diff behind because I need the sprocket to be put on for the electric drive that I've got to make. So that will eventually go in there. Let me just get this up in the air a bit. Right, there you go. That will fit in there, and so that go on there. You note that the hole's here, right? That goes inside there like so. As you can see, There's a bearing to be fitted in there as yet, which will sit inside there, as you already know, and then the differential will be bolted to this side. And then there's another one of these being made that actually is this time is going to sit on the actual shaft that the bearing would normally be on. And at the moment we haven't made our mind up if we're going to be bolting that on or just interference fit. I don't know at the moment. Didn't think this through myself. I gave him a plan of what I wanted and he changed it. So I don't know. Anyway, turns out the differential cage is made of cast iron, which is, as we all know, is very brittle. I don't know what this stuff is. It's a bit weird. So yeah, that's got to be bolted on. He said he took many hours machining a big bit of billet down to make that up. So there you go. I think we're now 4 days in. I still haven't got the diff back after that last round of engineering. I still think that's going to be too thin. I might make my own inner sleeve and plug weld that together. Maybe extend it as well and then polish that extension up and I'll get a seal on there and I want to get a seal inside here, you see. And anyway, another story for another day. So yeah, I've got this. It's just under an inch. What are we talking? Width of a finger. Something with inches on. Yeah, about half inch. Yep, half an inch thick. Good bit of solid steel that was given to me by a very good friend of mine, Mark Webb. Thank you very much, sir. This is going to do the job just brilliantly. So the centre line is that line. No, that's the centre there, sorry. So we've got two widths there, two widths there. These lines here are going to represent where I'm putting the sliding bolt system. So basically what I'm trying to do is I want to make a plate, if this will work. Hang on, bear with me. So damn cold. I'm having troubles with these damn tip X's today. Right, so we're going to make a slip plate to go on the back, which is going to look something like that. And then there's going to be an elongated hole here, an elongated hole here, and behind that will be this plate here. That plate will come down there. The box steel will be welded onto it there, so it'll overlap, and I'll probably have the box steel sort of angled in like that. Yeah, anyway, so, and then there'll be one hole there, and there'll be one hole there, and somewhere in this equation, I'm not sure how this next bit is going to work, I need to have a tensioning bolt fitted, but because we're welding that piece to the tubes, and there's going to be two on each side, I'm not sure how I'm going to make a bolting system that can pull on the reverse, other than if I leave enough of this here, I might be able to run, if the Tipex will work, some kind of bolt, maybe there, so when you put that plate on, the bolt will sit, so that plate will be like across there like that, over the top. Yeah, do you see where I'm sort of heading? I know some of you are not going to grasp that, some of you will. So that plate sits on top of that plate. These bolts then push down onto there. So when you do these nuts up, it'll push the axle back. It's similar. Very similar to a quad bike, except quad bike it has one hinge point bolt at the bottom and it has a locker at the top. That's all very well and good if you want to get extra height as you're wearing the chain out. I don't want the extra height. I need this to sit exactly where it needs to sit from start to finish of a good to bad belt. When I pulled this apart, I did check to see where it was on the alignment, and it was in the midway area of the alignment. So whatever I do, when it comes to fitting this all together as a complete entity, I've got to make sure that the pulley system is set smack bang in the middle. So when I do eventually buy a new belt for this, everything will be as it needs to be. I've never had a belt drive before, so I genuinely don't know how this is meant to go. Is it meant to be slack, similar to a chain, you know, with a little bit up and down movement? I mean, what? I've never had one. Do I need to put a tensioner in this? I don't think a tensioner is going to work, to be honest. Just waiting to take delivery of my hole saw. So 64 millimeters. It's actually 65, 64. I thought I had one here. I could have sworn. Oh shit, what did I do? My thing has just fell apart. Yeah, okay, cut those. Didn't go well. Didn't go well at all. The slits, near on damned impossible to do, but they are there. I'm going to get the dyno file out when I can find it, because I do not know where I put it. When I did the tidy up, lost that. So I thought if we get the dyno file out, we can clean that all up. But there was word of a die grinder possibly coming my way, but I don't know what happened to that idea. It was mentioned and then it was taken away immediately it was spoken. So let me just screw this damn thing back on. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, the hole saw disintegrated when I cut that hole out, as I thought it would. It's a Bosch one. It was rubbish. I ended up having to use this one, or one similar to this, to take out the remainder of the hole. My homemade oil bottle broke. Just snapped clean off. Unbelievable, I'm thinking. Okay, so that's another bust. We did drill loads of holes out, as you can see here, but you know, they didn't go well either. However, not going to worry too much at the moment, because what I'm thinking of doing anyway is to put two plates, one over this side, one over the other side, drill one singular hole, and then you can run two bolts through there. You're not going to see the slits, and then I've just got to figure out where I can put the tension bolt that you've got to wind up to push it all out and hold it into position, and that's the one I haven't quite figured out yet. The trouble with me is I don't have a milling machine. I wish I had one, but I don't have one. Thought I'd quickly highlight this. Ex-police, either stainless or they're alley, I'm not sure which, probably stainless. Yeah, I think it's stainless. Fairly deep dish. See by my hand there, look. So I wanted to note that. Of my mate Mark, thank you very much, mate, friend. I'll get told off for saying mate. Big old sheet. I've got another one of them tucked behind there. I don't want to interfere with that bit, nor do I want to interfere with that bit, because I need that straight edge and that straight edge to make the back bracket that's going to hold these two halves together. What I haven't worked out yet is to whether I need to split them to get the diff out. That all depends on what gets built next on the diff itself. I haven't got the diff yet, so there's only so far I can go on this video, and he will not be doing them until a minimum of next week. He's got other jobs. We've got half the diff done so far, as you can see from here. I still think that's too thin. I'm going to make up a sleeve to go in there. Made my mind up on that. See what I can find down the yard. Turn it on the lathe. It'll have a 2mm throw out, but as long as the seal that I'm putting in, you know what I mean, holds, that's all I care about at this point. So and as long as it don't destroy the seal as well, otherwise I'll have to pack it out on my lathe jaws. If I can't, I mean, if I can get that four-jaw on the floor cleaned up and fitted, then great. I'll buy myself a timing piece of kit, but I've got to get that one off first. And I also need, it's been a very heavy, wet, dirty day. Muck everywhere, breathing it in, it's all over my face. I need a bath. But we're getting there. So I've welded those onto my metal plates, if I haven't already explained what's going on. All that's left to do now is to figure out where these slide will sit, and then I've got to drill a hole through both. When I've done that, I then need to take these out and then mark out a series of dots on these and them, and then I can drill some holes. I was going to weld them on, but I kind of come to the conclusion that if I bolt them on, they will nip and wedge that up nicely. Okay, so I've drilled. I'm ready for my nuts and bolts, which I'm waiting to take delivery of. I've also put in a single bolt on the other side hole. I've just got to bolt these two plates together, put them back in the pillar drill, and then drill straight through, and then we can put our 12mm locking nuts and bolts in place. And then the only thing left to purchase after this is the 14mm connecting nuts that are going to go on there. And I just got to machine down, well, I say machine down, grind down, because that's all I have at my arsenal, a level area, and then we need to find a reference point on each one that is equal, so as I can at a later date, when the frame is ready to be built, weld these damn things on. There we go. They're all bolted in, sandwiched down, because those are actually pushing down on the metal plates as well. Then we've got the two 12mm that go through the centre. That's the ones that will be holding it into position. There's two of them each side, although I've got one hole slightly out on that side. You know, these things happen. Yeah, probably that one's a little higher than it should be. We're not using them as any guide for measuring off, so I'm quite happy with that, even if that one's a little dinky, but whatever. So when you want to adjust them, you've got to loosen them all off, undo them too, wind the nuts, the bolts that go in at the top, pull it out, and then wind everything back up nice and tight. I am wondering whether I should weld these down so they can never fall out and just undo the nuts, or whether to put connecting nuts each side of that and weld them on. Probably be better to weld the bolts in, because that way they'll never fall out and they'll be permanently in place, but I'll never be able to change them. I'd have to grind them off if I needed to change them for any reason. So yeah, that's the adjuster plates for the rear axle almost finished. Now I need, and I haven't got any, I only got two, I need some 14mm locking, connecting nuts, sorry, to weld onto that fascia there. But before I do that, I've got to grind that flat. So I was hoping to post this video up today, which is what, Wednesday today, but that ain't gonna. I have come up with a cunning plan. There's been so much going on, I've forgotten what size drill bit I ordered. There you go, 22mm, which is roughly the same size head. As you can see, that fits in there. You can see what I've done. I don't even have to machine on a lathe now. That fits in there perfectly the way it needs to. So I took the top cover plate off. I've marked out on this one where I've got to trim it up to get it tidy, because it was a little out. I mean, that's not surprising. I was cutting it with that. Bit Heath Robinson and all that. I never knew what that bloody meant, actually. Anyway, just let me put that down. Let me just wind that in. Look. Need to know where this is going to sit. Right, wind that in. Just do that up a bit more. There we go. I want that so it just sits under, so I can blob some weld in there. Do that up. Right. Now we can see how we're going to mount that, and I think that's going to have to go that way. So there's going to be a gap that I've got to fill in somehow, because I can't take that wall out any more than it already is. So we are going to have a gap, unless, no, there is a gap. So I've got to be very, very careful how I weld that, because we don't want that connecting nut shifting sideways, so I think the best thing all round. And also, as soon as I put weld on that connecting nut, it's going to tighten the thread up straight away, so I've got to be very careful how I do it. So I think what I will do is I will grease up with some copper slip, which I've got, the bolt first, so the thread is covered, and then we'll weld in the block once I've cut the block down. Yeah, so that'll go in like that, and then we'll somehow figure out how we're going to weld that in. I may actually use, this is cheating, but I might get a welding rod and wedge a welding rod inside there, so or a couple of them actually, just so as I can weld that in without it shifting. I don't actually know of any other way to do it at the moment. I mean, I don't know, so I need to square that off, weld it onto there. The plate will have to be cut accordingly, so if I do need to get a bit more gap there and there, then I will do so, and then we're there. And then the nuts, I've made my mind up. 150s by 12 mils, fully threaded, no shank, half nut in a manner of speaking, connecting nut, spread the load on the thread so I can get maximum tight and grip. That one's going to get welded in like so. That will be welded flush, and then we'll connect that up somehow, either with a steel bridge. It needs to go straight regardless. And what we can then do, the purpose of these is we can wind that one down, lock it onto there, because we don't really want to move that in any manner, so we lock that one down so it's just on top, and then we use the little nut to finally lock that down. I don't see this pulling out. 8.8 on the head. I'm hoping there's enough strength in that. For this, including the welding, I've just got to clean that up with a welder and maybe blip it over there as well, make that one strong. But this one, the wall is so thin on the metal that's very easy to blow through, which I have already done, and weld the bloody nut up, which I did. But if I can demonstrate, it kind of does what I wanted it to do. So we've got two double lock nuts up top. We can then lock them down. It's crude. I mean, I had to cut away that centerpiece. Not such a really bad idea, because I can squirt some grease in there, copper slip and whatnot, and keep that lubricated. Right, what I've opted for, and some of you looking at this probably thought, yeah, that's going to be an awkward way of adjusting, having two threads pulling it in and out. If they were in unison with, say, something in the middle connected up with cams and chains, and that probably would have worked well. But what I found was, as soon as I undo that one gets tight. That's just a bit of a nuisance, long-winded, don't want to do it. My attitude is, get this bike up in the air, put it on axle stand so the tyres are still on the ground, but the weight is off the wheels, and then it was a case of wind it out until you get it where you want it. However, 2 bolts is not going to work, so what I've done instead is I've cut off the old bit, and I've put just a normal 100mm bolt in there with a nut welder to the end. And the idea of that is we wind that all the way out to get it out of the way, like so. Yeah, it's out of the way then, and then I can make the adjustment that I need to make using the other one, like so. So let's just say I'm heading for a mid position. I pull it out, I lock it off up there, and then I wind one, and then that locks in as it's supposed to. It's not meant to do anything else other than that. Bearing in mind we've got bolts going through the middle, bolts running across the top. I think we've got enough to contend with at this point in time. So yeah, quite happy with that. Not as happy as I could have been. If I was in the mood to be really cheeky, I'd have welded 2 motorcycle small sprockets each side, and I would have put a chain and had a nut on one side, so when you wind one the other spins automatically. I would have done that, but that just means more engineering, unnecessary. Great, yes, unnecessary. I think that 1 bolt will be enough, and that'll also help hold this into position if I should smack a bump. Bearing in mind, still going to put the rose joints in. I'm putting every precaution that I can possibly think of. So I've tack welded all those bolts. I've loosened all of them off. Okay. Now I've tightened them all down, and you can see how this is locking it in. There you go, there is the first one. Just debating whether to weld them down as well, just so they don't fall out. Certainly wouldn't do it any harm if I did. It would definitely make that stronger. I did tighten them up, but they've loosened off for some weird reason. So yeah, I'd say this is the first one. This is now ready to weld onto the axle. If I weld these down and I put my block in there for the chassis frame, it won't matter if I hit those because they're welded anyway. And that plate, they're actually quite crude. I've marked them. I can see where the indents are. Had to do it at the grinder. Couldn't do a very neat job of it, I'm afraid. Numbered it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got the 3 back to front. Yeah, cocked that up as well. But they're going to work. I'm very confident. So let me just have a bit of a clear out around here, like shove everything over there, and then I'll get the axles and lay them across, and you'll get an idea where I'm heading with this thing. There you go. They will go as far out as I dare take them on each side. There'll be triangular gussets welded in each side on there, so they will go on square. I have bollocksed up that one, so I've got to cut that off and just straighten that out, because they're designed to be sloppy in there anyway. Got that one right, but yeah, I goofed on that one a little bit, didn't I? Yeah, just a little bit. So I've got to cut across there, pull it across, re-weld it. Not an issue. I ain't going to do that yet. I'll probably do that closer to the time when it's ready to weld on, because it will eventually niggle me. I put the marks on the inside, but I'm kind of debating now whether... Well, no, because the wheels are going on the outside and I won't be able to see them anyway. So they're going to be gusseted on that edge here, on the outside edge. I don't know if I'm going to gusset the inside yet because of the marks, but I could put a small triangle across there. And then obviously the differential goes in the middle, and then all of this little gubbins here will sit inside the centre, as you can see. It'll be a lot wider than this, I suspect. These axles will probably get cut down significantly. I reckon I'll end up losing half that tube and bringing that right down to here in order to get the wheels to fit. Now, obviously, looking at this now, fully extended, I don't think the wheels are going to go around that. I think I'm hoping. Yeah, definitely hoping. Not going to happen. So they are going to have to go closer in, which means I could actually now just put a block of steel across that way and then just join it on and then triangulate it where it needs to be triangulated. As long as the wheels go on and I can get plenty of coverage. I mean, you can see the original suspension unit here, and when the drive shaft's on, they're out here somewhere. So I don't know at the moment how this is going to pan out. I've got this next bit's going to be even harder. I mean, like it's hard enough as it is now. It's getting even harder. Bloody thing. The tensioners are on the top. The stoppers are on the bottom. That's where they need to be. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I think the hardest part of this, apart from making the swing arm, is getting this axle straightened once everything is bolted in place, because there's no bearings inside and there's a little slop going on there. So I reckon we'll align that up first to where it's going to sit. Then we'll remove that if we can, and then we'll put a plate across here to bolt the two halves together so they go straight. Or the option is, like I spoke about before, is cutting a big piece of this axle. Got a nice straight edge going down there that could be welded straight across to here, straight across to there, cut a big cut out here for everything, and then I could even go as far as making, because I'll have a plate to bolt to then, and I could make a big chain guard, or belt guard, sorry, over the top. I mean, it's a bit Heath Robinson, I'll openly admit. It could have gone better. It could really have gone better. That one's already niggling me, so I'm going to cut that off and I'm going to pull that across. I don't quite know. Actually, I do know what happened, just because I turned the nut on its end, you know, on a blunt end there, and pulled it to one side when I welded it. So I will have to cut that off and just gently shift that over. Who's counting? So yeah, there you go. I hope I've got enough extension going on here now to tighten the belt up. So I was talking about setting this at the midpoint, but I might actually set it at the quarter point instead. And I don't know though, should I? I mean, look, on the actual swing arm itself. Well, thank you. I'd just like to say thank you for your likes and your shares. This is the end of the video. The video is just running way too long. I'm already at 30 minutes and I've got to go right back to the beginning again and re-edit some more just to get it a little bit shorter, because it's getting a bit too long, this. Not sure if this plan is going to work. If it doesn't, it's a waste of money, and I'll have to look at independent suspension instead, as that chap didn't want the trike in the end, mucking me around. I'm going to take the diff out, and which is what I was going to do in the first place, to be honest with you, and maybe use the components from that if this idea isn't working, because these slip plates are worrying me a little bit. I won't deny I've got rose joints to add to this as well as extra strength to go on the tubes, but I think by the time I've got these plates fitted and the tubes cut, I don't even know if there's going to be enough room for the wheels to go on. That's how concerned I am of this whole thing. I might have to go to the Jag wheels instead, because they're a lot slimmer. Tyres will be a lot cheaper as well, but I had to do a bit of cheating with those wheels because I had to put some 4x4 tyres on to get them at the height for that particular trike, so they might be too big for this, so I don't know at the moment. We'll see what's what. So that's the end of it all, and I'll see you on the next video. Comment, I'll reply, and we'll go from there really. See you next time round. Bye bye.